الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Our viewers at home, my name is ABDULHAKEEM QASIM and I welcome you to another edition of the Sahaba Series, reaching you from Light Radio, your source for knowledge. On this segment, we try as much as possible to x-ray the lives of the companions of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We tell us some important things that we need to know about them, how they live their lives, their contributions to Islam, and what we can do, what we can learn from their lives. Today, inshallah, we shall be taking a look at one very important companion of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who's regarded as the first ambassador, the first envoy of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and that is the person by name MUS'AB bin UMAYR. So today, if you hear anyone bear MUS'AB, that is the origin of that name, MUS'AB bin UMAYR, radiallahu anhu. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him. Now, MUS'AB bin UMAYR was born in Mecca to a rich, wealthy family. He was born to the family of Umayr bin Hashim and Khunas bint Malik. Now, these wealthy couples, influential couples in the whole of Mecca. Then he was born around 594 CE thereabouts. Now he was a Quraysh, and in fact he was regarded as the flower of the Quraysh, very handsome, very youthful, and he grew up with wealth. You know, when you say someone was born with a silver spoon, then certainly probably you're talking about MUS'AB bin UMAYR. Now, during that particular time, MUS'AB bin UMAYR feared did not fear anyone, because he was so rich and so wealthy and so pampered that it was reported that if you want to know the latest of fashion, latest of design, latest of clothing, the first person you see it on is on MUS'AB bin UMAYR. And if we're told that if he wears one cloth today, he will not wear it the following day. He has to put on another new cloth. That's the kind of luxury that he enjoyed. Now, but despite this, that was one person MUS'AB bin UMAYR, feared offending or having any clash with, and that's his mother. So, along the line, he heard about the message of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he heard that Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to meet some people in a particular house. That's the house of knowledge, Darul Arqam bin Arqam, the house of Arqam. And it's in this house the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will teach those early converts, he will teach them about Islam, read the verses of the Quran that has probably any new revelation that comes to him, he'll read it to them there, he'll teach them the verses, he'll teach them the implications of those verses, and he expect them to actually put them to practice. So he accepted Islam in Mecca directly from Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in 614 CE, just 4 years after within the 4 years of the message of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But when he accepted Islam, he kept his faith secret out of fear of his mother. But eventually, his mother got to know, because then in Mecca, people were always on the lookout, vigilant, because of the new religion that just emerged. And they were always counting for information to see who is doing what and so. So eventually, someone saw MUS'AB entering into the house of Arqam, and eventually he reported to his mother that your son has become a follower of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now, when his mother got to know of this, he could no longer hide his faith, and he affirmed his faith that he has become a Muslim. So the mother felt angry and felt disgusted that how could you leave the religion of your forefathers and you follow the religion of Muhammad, where someone will tell you are worshiping a God that you cannot see. And he tried to convince his mother, but his mother will not be convinced. So for that reason, the mother detained him, kept him in chains, and said, well, because I will not disgrace you in front of, the Quraysh leaders, because that was the kind of influence he had. He had access to the Quraysh leaders, even though he was young. But because of the background I had, he had access to those people. So he was challenged publicly, and the mother would not want to disgrace him publicly. So the mother took him home and detained him so that he would not go out. At least if he doesn't go out, he will not go and be professing his faith, and nobody will know that he has accepted Islam, or nobody will be saying things, and he will not be saying things that will probably annoy her more. So, but along the line, because of the oppression that was going on, Mus'ab bin Umair heard that the early converts, the Muslims, were migrating to Abyssinia because of the pressure, the persecution in Mecca. And he heard of this while in detention. He found a way to escape. He broke free from his, the chains because he was shackled. He broke free. He escaped and joined the party that migrated to Abyssinia. So eventually some Muslims, later after some years in Abyssinia, they returned to Mecca when probably they heard that they had the rumor that Meccans have accepted Islam. So but when he came back, found out that, they came back and found out that it was actually a rumor and it was false. So during that time, the mother tried to imprison him again, and he warned, the stewards that if anybody moves near him, he will kill the person instantly. And they knew quite well that when he has resolved to do anything, he will go ahead and do that without facing back. So for this, the mother decided that, well, I don't have control over you again. And he also tried to even pray to the mother, but the mother rejected. So after that, the mother disowned him and stripped him of all privileges and wealth. It became a situation where Mus'ab became wretched, very wretched, that he was wearing old clothes, that he became disheveled, he was wearing tattered clothes. Even the Muslims and Prophet himself saw him one day and they started shedding tears, looking at the level of sacrifice that he made because of Islam. So he did not allow the allures of wealth to actually take him away from his newfound faith. And he was ready to forgo everything. Eventually, the Prophet appointed him his envoy to Medina. When 12 people came from Medina and the Prophet met with them, they came to Mecca and they took the pledge of Al-Aqaba that they would stand by Islam, they would support the Prophet, and they have accepted Islam. So they sent Mus'ab bin Umair along with them to teach them Islam and to also prepare the ground for the Hijrah. In less than 1 year, by the next pilgrimage season, from 12 people that came the first year, Mus'ab had been able to convince 70 people were led to Mecca to actually make the second pledge of Aqaba. That's the extent of the work Mus'ab bin Umair did. And he went around the whole of Medina. He prepared the ground. In fact, it was reported that there was no house that Mus'ab bin Umair did not touch. Even at a point that his life was threatened, there was a particular man by the name USAID bin Hudayr. Now, USAID one day was a leader of a clan in Medina and threatened that, what are you doing in my clan, with my people, in my community? I don't want to see you here. If I see you, I'll kill you. And he actually drew his spear. And at the end of the day, a lot of people were afraid that this man was going to kill Mus'ab. And he said, well, we're only preaching the word of Allah. Should that be a crime? Why not probably just take a seat and listen? If it makes sense to you, fine, you can accept it. If it doesn't make sense to you, you can leave. I would also leave your community, and there'll be no problem. I said, well, Usaid said, well, that's fair. If that is the case, no problem, let me listen. And at the end of the speech, Usaid said, what is the way? How do people accept this religion of yours? And he said, just purify your clothes, purify your body. Then you say the statement, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. And at the end of the day, he got water, poured on himself, purified himself, and he made the Shahada and he accepted Islam. That was the kind of message. So Mus'ab was able to touch all communities. Now, he lived in Medina with the Prophet after the Hijrah when the Prophet came, because he prepared the ground. And they did all their work. And eventually, at the Battle of Uhud, Prophet appointed him to carry the standard, the flag of Islam. And he held it. That was in the year 625. So he fought bravely in this battle. And when the archers disobeyed the Prophet, thinking that they were taking the upper hand against the enemies, the polytheists, the Prophet was left, open and vulnerable. And Mus'ab saw that a group were moving towards the Prophet to hurt him, and he tried to divert their attention to it so that he will be able to save the life of the Prophet. He started shouting, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And at the end of the day, they came around. He fought valiantly. He fought gallantly. And eventually, he came across a particular man who was a knight. And the man cut off his right hand. And Mus'ab did not want the flag to fall. He held with his left hand. The man cut the left hand. Mus'ab held the flag with his hand to his chest like this. And eventually, the man, fired an arrow into him that's, speared him, and, from the back, and came out through the front. And at the end of the day, MUS'AB, died, fighting valiantly for the cause of Islam. And in fact, he did not even want to die facing, with his back on the ground. Probably he would see the flag fall, or he would actually see the rest of Islam being harmed. He actually had to fall on his face just, to ensure that he would not see the downfall of the flag of Islam, or see the rest of Allah being hurt with his very eyes, and he will be helpless. That was Mus'ab bin Umair. And eventually, he and many other companions died at this battle of Uhud, including Hamza bin Abi Talib, the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ibn Abdul Muttalib. And at the end of the day, Rasulullah went round to, after the battle was over, went round to inspect the battlefield and saw, many of the martyrs. When they were to bury Mus'ab, and they found out that the only thing he had with him was a sheet of shredded cloth, such that when they cover his body, his head, his legs will be open. When they cover his legs, his head will be open. Rasulullah was crying and was saying, reading Quran chapter 33, verse 23, very of the believers are those who stood, firm with their covenant with their Lord. And this was what he said. He was crying, looking at Mus'ab bin Umair, and he ordered that let them cover his head and use leaves to cover his, let them cover his head with a sheet of cloth and cover his legs with the palm front. That was someone that came from a wealthy background and although died wretched. To our own reckoning, he died wretched, but he died as a martyr defending, the cause of Islam. He was an envoy to Islam, and all the people that accepted Islam in Medina, he will have a commission in that. So that is for us to tell you that there is no price that is too much to pay for Islam or for our service to Allah. Pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, accept the martyrdom of Mus'ab bin Umair and make us pious followers of these companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is on this note, inshallah, that I'll draw the curtains on Sahaba Series for today, hoping that you have learned something about this first ambassador of Islam, Mus'ab bin Umair radhiyallahu anhu. Inshallah, we'll make it to your airways, inshallah, tomorrow morning with another edition of the Sahaba Series. I remain ABDULHAKEEM QASIM. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.